So on our supply list were a couple of my favorite tools for whenever I do any kind of a project. One of them was a clapper, and I'm going to show you when we go to press and fold on how flat you can actually get your seams using a clapper and a wool mat. It's not a new product by any means. Mine is old school clapper from like the 70s when I first started sewing. So I have several of them. Now I've kind of collected ones that will fit inside my embroidery hoop so that I can actually press flat in the hoop if I have to. So I'm going to go through what's in your kit if you got your kit from A1, because we usually include all of the stabilizer that you need for your project as well. So you're going to find in our kit a piece of cutaway stabilizer that's going to fit your 5x7 hoop. If you decided you want to do the bigger one, that's great. You probably will not have enough fabric in this kit, but if you're using your own fabric, you will. And you'll need to use your 6x10 hoop and more, a bigger piece of stabilizer. You'll also have this white piece of fabric. That's going to be this piece right here. And you'll see that it came with a piece of backing. This is called SF101 or Shape Flex. Those of us that do a lot of embroidery, we go through this by the bolt. I mean, we love it. We love it because it makes our embroidery nice and flat and smooth and no puckers. So, and if you have a fabric that's really kind of not as thick of a cotton as say like a batik or something where you can't see through it, it actually will act as a backing. So it gives it a little bit more, opaqueness, especially if it has to go over a darker color. So you have a piece of SF101 for that. You also have the smaller pieces for your bunnies. You have a piece of Kimberbell faux leather, and that doesn't require any backing on it because it's kind of thick, but it also has a piece of wash away clear topper. And that's so that as your needle does those really pretty little flower stitches right here, that it doesn't fall into the leather. You also have two other pieces of fabric and two other pieces of SF101 Shape Flex or backing, fusible backing. That's going to go on the back of these pieces. That's just adds a little bit of body. And then you have a piece of batting that's going to be your fluffy stuff in between your layers. You have two larger pieces of the peachy colored fabric. These are going to get folded in half and turn into the backside of your project right here. And then you have the one piece of peachy fabric that's going to go on the front of your project. So it's going to be not a huge supply list, but you'll need 4 colors of embroidery thread that kind of coordinate with your colors here. If you have a lot of glide thread, I am using buttercup, taffy, pink lemonade, and linen for today's project, but a lot of other thread colors will actually blend with this as well. Those were just the ones I picked when I did the original sample. Just checking for late arrivals and not seeing any. So, okay. The other thing you'll need obviously is your 5x7 hoop. So these are just yes.
Michelle, it's Irene. Could you just tell me those colors again, please? Of thread?
Oh, of course. Of course. So I have pink lemonade, taffy. This is the darker pink is taffy, buttercup, and linen.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I also have some of my favorite scissors. The double curve, the Femori double curve with the smaller ones with the point, the really sharp point. These are always my go-to whenever I have to trim applique in the hoop. So what is the purpose of the double curve and why is it important to have a good pair? Well, when you go to trim your appliques, especially in this project, so I'm going to come down a little closer here. In this project, we have what they call raw edge applique. In other words, this is a decorative stitch here, not a satin stitch. So a satin stitch, covers all the edges. So with a raw edge applique, you are going to see some of the edges. So when we go to trim, you're going to hear me say, try to get as close to, but not through your tack down line. So having a really sharp pair of scissors that's really sharp at the tip is going to help you to do that. There's a lot of double curved scissors out there. They're not all created the same. I need the tip here to be very, very, very sharp. That's where I need my cutting power, not here, back here. I need it up here. So if you're struggling, then maybe it's time to replace those scissors because they need to work for you. You don't need to work for them. So pointy at the tip. And then when I go to trim, before I turn my project, when I go to trim it, this is just, again, a straight edge piece of a straight edge scissor. But again, it's sharp at the point. So that's pretty much, that's how I gauge the value of a pair of scissors to me is, are they sharp at the point? Because that's where I'm going to need that to happen. And then this is one of my favorite little nippers for trimming threads. And part of it is because you can grab it with this little hook here and then just nip it right off. So these are the three I'll be using in class today. And then when we go to turn our point over here in this corner, I'm going to show you how I turn corners, and it's not taking a point turner and jamming it into the corner, because that's a sure way to put the point turner through the hole and make a hole in your corner. So I'm going to actually be working it along the seam line from the inside, moving all the fabric in that direction so that I can make a smoother corner. You can also use this OESD point turner, has a really large knob on one end and a smaller one on the other. Now I will tell you, if you push hard enough with the smaller one, you will be able to poke that through as well. But again, the same process is, instead of going like this to jab in the corner to get it pointed, what happens usually there is you either poke a hole in it, or you have a point here in the corner that really comes out further than the rest of it, and it just doesn't look square. So what we're going to do is just actually move the fabric this way and then move the fabric this way. If we trim that corner cleanly, we'll get a nice turn from that. So these are my two favorite tools for that. And then I don't have any tape with me in class today, because in class today, I'm going to be using this spray tent and some KK100. KK100 is a temporary adhesive. I will tell you, it literally has almost no smell, as long as you don't decide to saturate the whole piece. So what we'll be doing is just going spritz, spritz, and then putting our pieces down. It will hold them in place for us to do our initial tack down. It'll be easy to trim around it. There will be no tape to remove. So those of you that have stitched with me before know that this girl, the worst thing that can happen in this girl's embroidery life is to have to pick tape out of stitches that I've already sewn, because depending on the stickiness of the tape, it can distort my stitches. So whenever I can get by with just doing a little bit of a spray based, I'm going to do that, because I know I won't have to have that happen. So that's what I'll be doing today. And then when we get to the back, I'm sorry, kind of dry here. When we get to the back, when we put our two little envelope pieces down, that's when I will have to actually use a piece of tape, because the worst thing, the thing that can happen when you're working with a domestic or home embroidery machine is, as your foot is stitching this final, it can actually catch here and pull the whole thing out of the hoop. So we do want to make sure that we tape this down good so that the foot can pass over it and finish it off nicely. All right. So I am going to go ahead and begin on, I've got my directions here. I'm going to begin on page 5. And on page 5, I'm going to start with some of my prep work. So my prep work is to take my two pieces of what's going to be my backing. I'm going to go ahead and turn my iron on here. And fold them wrong sides together, because they're going to make an envelope. And then I'm going to take this piece and I am going to attach there was a piece of backing there. I must have dropped it. I'm going to attach the backing to this. I'm going to attach the backing to this. I'm going to attach the backing to these two pieces. And then the rest I'm going to just set over on the side for right now. And I completely lost my piece of stabilizer, my piece of backing here. Oh, well. All right, so I'm going to just start with this. And it's always good just to give it a little bit of a best press squirt. Just going to add a little bit of body to that. I have this iron at home. This is the Panasonic cordless iron. And I resisted for the longest time because it's like, okay, I don't really need an iron, but every time I do a project at work, I really like this iron because there's no cord. Look at the shape. You know what's good about this shape? Look at what's good about this shape. The shape fits inside my embroidery hoop. That's what's good about the shape. And it has no cord. So I broke down. And there's one that lives at my house now. All right, so I'm going to show you what your little clapper thing will do for you. Okay, so I don't know how close you can see this, but there's my press without my clapper. And now I'm going to go reheat it up again. And this time I'm going to put my clapper on it and hold it down. So what the wood does is the wood draws the heat to the top from the top of what you're pressing. The wool mat pulls it to the back. So in the process of that happening, you get a razor sharp edge where you pressed. I'm just going to give it a second and there we go. That one is just completely and totally razor sharp and flat. So like I said, that's one of my more important tools. So I'm going to go ahead and use it again here and get this all nice and steamy. And then there's another. So when I go to put my two pieces together, it'll be nice and smooth in there. I won't have, I won't have lumpy bumpies. So that's good for now. They're pressed. I'm going to go ahead and set them to the side. And then let me get my two pieces here. And again, I'm just going to give everything just a little best press. Not a lot, just a little bit. Normally I would replace this because I caught the edge with the iron, but I also know that I have plenty here. This piece is really big, so it's not going to affect my bunny at all. So no sense in wasting. And I cannot find my little piece here. So I'm going to set this aside for now. When I'm stitching, I'll go get another piece. I think I must have dropped it when I brought the kit in. All right, I got to tell you, this little polka dot on polka dot, it gets me every time. Which is the right side, which is the wrong side. I have to check for how dark the polka dots are. This is the wrong side. I don't know if you guys struggle with that, but boy, those polka dots, those are so light. It's like, oh, no, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to get it going the wrong direction.
What model number is your Panasonic there?
That is a good question. I'm looking in the base to see what model it is. Oh, it's an NI-WL607. So there's two different versions. One version, we have them in the store. One version shuts itself off in about, I want to say 60 to 90 seconds of being unattended. Maybe it's a little bit longer than that. And we have them now that don't shut themselves off for 30 minutes. And the ladies are liking those as well. Mine shuts itself off, but I'm fine with it. I got mine prior to us having the ones that didn't shut off for 30 minutes in the store. And I thought about buying another one because, you know, I do enough embroidery and stuff at home that I could support 2 irons, but really, I think I'm fine with just the one that shuts itself off.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and press this, even though I don't have a piece of stabilizer to put behind it right yet. And then I'm just going to set it to my iron to the side here. I do love the convenience of it. I wasn't sure that I would love it. I knew I would like it. I wasn't sure I would love it. Yes.
Cora accidentally logged out. She's trying to log back in. She's wondering if you could let her in.
Okay. She's in. All right.
All set.
So I wasn't sure I was going to love it. I knew I would like it. I wasn't sure I was going to love it, but I do love it. And this is a girl that has, I have heat presses. I have like a 15-inch heat press. I have one of the iron heat presses, you know, from before. I have several irons. I have small Cricut heat presses. I have this iron because I use a lot of different stabilizers. And I do a lot of different things besides embroidery. But this one is the one that's plugged in all the time. So I guess that means that I really, really, really like it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hoop my stabilizer.
Michelle,
Yes.
the little piece that goes on the side didn't come with any stable.
Oh, there wasn't a stabilizer in there?
Yeah, but I put it on mine anyway.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to. I don't know. I don't remember who did the kits. I know that when I did the sample I made mention that one, but it doesn't show it even in the directions, does it? It shows the fusible backing on the big piece, but not on this small piece.
But I did
It's
it.
weird. So maybe we don't need it. So I don't know. I would do what you did, which is, you know, put it on it. But maybe we don't need it. So maybe I'll just leave it as is. So with the white fabric, it's much thinner. So if it had to go over something that was pink, if it didn't have the backing, you would see it. With this, I don't know. We'll see when I'll make the decision when I get there. If you want to put backing on it, put backing on it. If you don't want to put backing on it, it's probably going to be just fine since your bunnies are pretty much going to be situated mostly on the white fabric, not on the other. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hoop my stabilizer. Is everybody excited to sew this morning? I'm always excited when I get to do these. You know, sewing and embroidery and stuff like that is usually such a solitary hobby unless you have a group of girlfriends that sew. So being able to gather collectively as a group, I think is fun. I think Zoom made that all happen for us. So although some not so pleasant things came out of being in a pandemic for 3 years, I don't think Zoom is one of the not so nice things. I think it's great. I know that a lot of my friends that sew don't live here in the same state, so it's nice to be able to gather on Zoom and have a great time together. All righty. So you should be about ready to stitch. I'll give you a couple seconds here to gather all that stuff. So at this point, you should have both of your back pieces pressed. That's these two larger pieces that were the peachy color. You should have your backing applied to the white piece. If you want to put backing on this one, go ahead and put backing on it, but I guess it wasn't in the kit. So I didn't lose it, which is a good thing. I thought maybe I lost it. I guess I didn't lose it. It wasn't there to begin with. But do give it a press. I think everything needs a good press. We need it. We get the best opportunity to press it well when it's before we start with it, and we get the second best opportunity to press something well before it comes out of our hoop. So just kind of keep that in mind. But we cannot press on the leather bunny because, you know, you won't like that. He'll look like an ancient bunny when he gets done shrinking. All right, this didn't get very good. Let's give it another one here. There's another way that my clapper is nice. If I got a few wrinkles in there, and I'm just gonna work them out with the clapper. Look at that, no more wrinkles. All right. Okay, I'm going to switch the camera around now to the sewing machine. So I'm going to pause you for a minute here just so nobody needs Dramamine. So hang on. All right, checking the chat box here because I can see somebody looking for a heat press. Yes, the heat press that I have a big one that I just bought, and I love it. And it was I will Shannon, will you just send me send me a message, just send me a text, or not a text, send me an email later and I'll send you the link. It's Michelle A1 Sew at Gmail. And then I also have, so here's what I have. I have this regular iron. I have 3 Cricut presses. I have, and and every single one of them has a purpose. I have a little mini one that fits inside hats if I want to attach a hat patch to a hat, fusible. I have the 9x9, which is what I use mostly with my little tiny, we have a patch class coming up, and that's the one I use for patches because it just fits for everything. And then I have a 10x12 Cricut press that I use like for the occasional time that I will do a t-shirt, which it doesn't happen very often. And then I have the 15, I think it's 15x15 that I just got. And that's for if I wanted to do sublimation onto fabric. It's a different type of process. I do not have a sublimation printer. I don't print sublimation. I just buy it already printed. It's just, but it definitely requires a press because anytime your Cricut press moves, it smears it. All right. So let's go ahead and bring up our design. So I'm on a Solaris today. I changed the needle out this morning. I'm using a 7511 anti-glue, and I have a white pre-wound bobbin, which I will be using for the entire project. I'm going to go into my USB, and I'm going to get the design that says 5x7, unless you're providing your own fabric and you want to do the one that says 6x8. You'll need your 6x10 hoop. And but that's what we're doing. We're doing the 5x7, and I'm in a select set. Now, each time when we look at this, a lot of times this can be very confusing for someone that's new to embroidery. So I just like to throw that out there. We don't actually need all of these different colors. We only need the 4 colors really that I showed you at the beginning. What this does is forces the machine to stop for us so that we can change, not only to change thread, but it also stops for us to take the hoop off and trim our applique, even though we might need to use the same color still. So just know that although it looks like it has a gazillion colors, it really only has 4. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and select embroidery. So you can see that it's going to stop for us 21 times. That does not mean it has 21 spools of thread. It means that I have steps that I need to complete. So I'm going to begin. If you're ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and slide my hoop on the machine. And I'm going to thread up. So I'm going to look at my directions. And I always start by doing this because on the Kimberbell directions, they always tell you that when you're going to stitch like a placement line or a line that's going to tack down like your batting to your hoop, things like that, it doesn't really matter what color you use. It just is like the box has like the lines to it. So what I usually try to do is I try to use the color of the very first fabric that I'm going to be using, so I don't have to change color really quickly. So if I look at the directions, I'm going to be when I get to something that actually matters, I'm going to be putting down the white fabric first. So that's the thread that I am going to use to start with, or the linen color, because that way I won't have to change it for a while. All right. So when I press go, I'm going to get a stitch out that is going to be my placement line or where I'm going to put my batting. And my batting is not going to get trimmed until the very end. So I don't have to worry about grabbing those little edges or anything like that. So I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm going to swing you over to the table because I am going to spray baste my batting. So this will give you the opportunity to see how little the spray stuff you really need to get it to stick into place. All right. So I'm gonna bring my little tent over. Here's my spray baste. Here's my batting. I'm just gonna, so the tent is nice because and there's no overspray that goes anywhere else. You definitely never want to squirt on your machine or near your machine. You won't be happy, neither will your poor little machine. All right, so this is how much I'm gonna use. Listen. That's it. That's all I need. I don't need to saturate. And it doesn't need to have stick from edge to edge. It just needs to hold it in place so I can stitch it down. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my hoop and I'll just stick it onto the hoop while you're over here at the table.
Now, do you guys the tent in the store as well?
Yes, we have those in the store. They're called Dime. It's called a Dime. It's just a Dime spray tent. So all I'm doing is covering my placement lines and making sure I have enough batting to go all the way around. And then look, it's not going to fall out. I don't need to put a bunch of tape there that I have to pick off later. So this is anything that's going to save me time and cleanup. So cleanup is time. So if I have to pick tape off, it's time. So I want to just have fun. I don't want to spend my time doing stuff I actually hate doing, like picking tape. So I do use tape. Don't think I don't use any tape. I do use tape, but only when necessary. All right, so let's go back over to the machine and we'll get this tacked down. Okay, I was just checking the chat box very quickly here. All right. All right, so now this is in place for me. I'm just going to run color stop number 2. And it is step 5 on page 5, which is stitching my batting in place. Nope, actually we're not. Stitching the batting in place is, yeah, it is. Stitching the batting in place. Oh, no, I'm right. We're on color stop number 2, step number 7. So it's also gonna, you're also gonna see that it's gonna sew some placement lines for the other fabric. All right, so now we are right here on step number 8. We're going to actually place the right side of the white fabric. We're going to place the right side up and the wrong side down, and we're going to completely cover this square here. So what I'm going to do is just, bring my spray tent over. It's the same process. Here's my piece of white fabric. I just need to make sure that I spray it on the side that's actually the wrong side, right? One squirt. That's it. Just a little bit. And then I'm just going to place it over here, completely covering section 1, which is the larger of your sections. And that's going to just hold that in place for me. And then I'm just going to tack it down. I don't walk away usually when I do this, because you never know when the foot might catch a corner or something. But so I'm not, I'm not basting this with spray base and then walking away, but. All right, so there's my tack down for that piece. So I'm going to take this off and I'm going to trim this all the way up to, but not through the stitching line. So just make sure that you don't cut through your stitching line when you do that. And then we're going to, for the next step, which will be step number 11. We're gonna do the background fabric too with the right side down, and we're gonna align it along this line. And that one, you can go ahead and use a piece of tape if you like. I'm just gonna hold it in place. It's just a straight across seam, so I'm not too concerned about it. But I'm gonna go ahead and trim this first. I don't want to spray base the other one because, I'm going to be doing the wrong side. Oh, spray. Julie's special cardboard box. Yeah, I have one of those too. But here's my special cardboard box. Yeah, you could use a cardboard box. My special cardboard box was a pizza box for a long time. And I just like this because it's convenient. It folds away. But certainly nothing wrong with Julie's special cardboard box. For the longest time I used, you'll know how long, if you guys have ever bought this product, you'll know how old I had this box for. I used the box bottom from a case of Propel water for years until it was so sticky. And what I would do is put paper in it and then, okay, who is it this
Sorry
time?
to bother you again. Alice Levinson, she said she never got the email for the class.
I can't do it now. I mean, if you can do it or if Patrick can do it, I can't do it.
Gotcha.
I can't stop the class and do it.
That's fine.
Yeah. All right. So just a fond reminder, ladies, when it comes to these classes, you need to check the day of the class and make sure that you have the link well before the class starts, because I won't stop class and have all you guys wait for me to resend a link to someone. So, half an hour into the class, I can't really help her. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and set this down here. So I'm going to be taking this and doing it right up to that line that I just trimmed. And I'm going to take this back over. Now I'm just going to hold my edges here. The other thing that you can use is you can use a little bit of tape. You can use something as a finger to hold it down. Literally, it's going to do one line that goes straight across. I'm not really concerned about that. I've got my iron set to medium so that when I get done, I can bring this over and press it so that I get a nice clean press on that. So back over to the sewing machine. Okay, let's see here. Alrighty, let me check the chat box really quick here. Just look at February 15th and it's there. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, and you'll see that it's just a really quick, I remember this from the sample. It's just going to go straight across really quickly. So all good. And then I will take this over and I'm going to fold this up and press it in the hoop, mainly because if I do this, I can finger press it well enough, but I have a bunny that's going to sit right on top of that as an applique. I think I want a little bit more of a solid, nice press there. So I'm just going to take it over to the side here. The fact that my iron actually fits in my hoop is a big bonus because it makes it easy for me to do this. And I can still use the end of this one. At home, I have a little small one that actually fits in the hoop. It's like this long, but I can still use the end of this one to kind of make sure that that press is nice. Look at how much better that is there. Oh, we're sharing snow pictures. Woo. You should see the one from Mammoth where they had 4 feet of snow on top of the cars, I think. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and tack this down all the way around. So I grew up in this area and have been a huge fan of Lake Tahoe and all the snow, the fun snow stuff that happens. And I don't dislike snow. I really truly love snow. I'm just really tired of being cold all the time right now. And it would be nice if we could get some groceries in the grocery store, right, ladies? I liked it better when I skied. All right. Okay, I'm gonna, is everybody still with me or do you need because we're moving on to page 6. I want to make sure you're all with me. Give me a thumbs up in front of the camera if you're ready to go on. If you're not, we're gonna give you just a couple more minutes to get going. Nancy, how we doing? Do you need a couple minutes? Are you good? Oh, there's another Nancy in class too. I'm sorry. Both Nancys. All right, I'm going to give everybody just a couple more minutes so that we can all get to the same spot. We have plenty of time. So where you should be now is, so I have sewn both of my background fabrics down, and I did that in my little press here, and you'll see that it really makes a big difference if you have an iron that you can fit inside your hoop. And so that's what, actually, that was what my Cricut mini press was for the longest time, was the iron that fit inside my hoop, because my traditional iron did not fit inside my hoop. And then somebody asked me the other day why I prefer like a little heat press, like my little Cricut press for patches as opposed to a regular iron. Because people say, well, can I do it with a regular iron? Yeah, you can. But look at the bottom of your iron. It has holes in it where the steam comes out. So all those holes, when you go to press down on something to get that patch to really the fusible stuff to attach, every place there's holes is not getting any, it's getting heat, but it's not getting any pressure. So with a little heat press, it's a solid block of metal. There's no steam that ever comes out. So it's just solid. And that's kind of what helps.
Patch class for multi-needle kits.
So there are extra ones. First, check and make sure I didn't already put a kit in there with their name in them in the pickup area.
Okay.
If not, there should be some back on the desk in the back.
Okay.
All right. So we good to go now, ladies? Kind of. Oh, Nancy A is having coffee, so that must mean she's good to go. All right, so we're moving on. We are now on the top on page 6. We are actually on step number 15. So for me, the color that I'm using in that's the kind of a pink dot with a polka dot. I don't know why it looks pink. It's actually linen. And that, amazingly enough, linen is the color I already have on. So this is one of the reasons why when they say, oh, read through the pattern, you're like, yeah, no, I don't have to do that because I do embroidery all the time. But this is one of the things that saves you time if you know you're going to be using the same color. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to go ahead and start my quilting lines. All right, so this for me is a 2-minute stitch out. And while it's doing its 2-minute stitch out, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can really quickly send that link to the person that was trying to get in. Okay, I'm back. All right, so I did on my own a little color change here with this. So instead of using the white for the bunny itself, that's when I changed my color to buttercup. So I'm gonna go ahead and change out. So we're at the point where we're actually going to be putting our bunnies down. So again, I'm not gonna keep flipping the camera back and forth because I think you get the idea. I'm gonna actually spray baste all of my bunny pieces. So the first one is the orange bunny, but I have to do my placement line first. So we are on step number 16, color stop number 7. There we go. So this is now going to create the placement line where my first bunny is going to go. And that, if I'm looking, it doesn't matter. You can put your bunnies in any color order that you want. But if you want to follow the sample and the actual, the actual picture on the Kimberbell thing, the orange bunny goes on first. So now I'm going to go over and give this a little spray baste. And I see a little thread that needs to be mixed there. So if I pull this and then let me zoom in for you. I have a little piece of thread there that kind of got in the way. So this is where I love that little hook, because it just gets right down to the base of the problem. And then I'm going to just set that down there. And I will do the tack down of my bunny rabbit. All right, I'm going to swing you over to the table with me and we're going to trim together. Come on, come back. So when I cut this is where I want my double curve scissors. I want to try to get as close to the stitching line as I can, but not through the stitching line. So you can see that the little tips being really sharp let me get really close in those corners. All right. Now I'm going to take this back over to the machine and do the decorative stitch for bunny number 1. Still using Buttercup. If you're following along on your directions, you are on step number 20, color stop number 9 on your machine, if your machine counts the color stops for you. All right, so we are moving on to bunny number 2. So that means we'll be looking for our little piece of vinyl and our little piece of wash away topper. And then I'm going to go ahead and change out colors. And now I'm changing out to pink lemonade. So I can hear it's really busy out there in the store today because for 2 days now, the snow has kept people at home. And then now today, there's like the break in the storms until the weekend. So they're all out. All right, so I'm going to do my placement line. So I'm going to do my vinyl just a little bit different than what they suggest in the directions, and I'll tell you why. So rather than put my vinyl and my topper on at the same time, I'm going to do my vinyl first. I'm going to trim my vinyl, and then I'm going to put my topper on. And I'll tell you why. If I do both at the same time and I trim my topper and my vinyl away from the outside edge when I trim, there's a really good possibility that since the topper is kind of a tearaway topper, that it's going to pull away from the side of the vinyl here, and it won't be there to do what I need it to do, which is support the stitches when I do the top stitching around here. So I'll show you how you do you, I'll do me, and I'll show you why as we go along. So I'm just gonna right now just take the little bit of spray, and I'm gonna take my topper, and I'm just gonna set it here for now because I'm not gonna use it till after I trim. Well, I won't set it there. I'll just set it to the side. I'm gonna trim first, and then I'm gonna put it on, because then that topper will be there not only for the outside to support my outside decorative stitch, but it'll be there when the flowers go to sew on top of the vinyl. So I just think it's easier because it stays better if you don't cut it before you need it, while you still need it. So a little bit of spray. Placing down vinyl. And I am threaded with, well, I've got taffy here, so we must be using pink lemonade. So since this tack down goes around twice, it sews around twice, and basically how tearaway topper like this gets cut is when it gets perforated by the needle. So since it's gonna would get perforated twice, when I went to trim, it's not likely that what's in the inside here would be still stuck there when I got done. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim my bunny, and then I'm gonna place my my topper down on top of it. So I'm just going to, let's bring you over this way. I'm just gonna trim. And I'm gonna use those same little double curved scissors. I just love these little guys. Just can't beat a sharp pair of scissors, right? And I'm just going slow and steady.
Yeah, have a good weekend, right?
Thank you, you as well. All right. Now I'm going to put my topper down on top of it. And for this, I will use a little tiny piece of tape on the top and the bottom. So it'll be well out of the stitching area. But now I know for a fact that when my flowers go to sew in here, that there will still be topper left. And then I'll also have topper here over the edges. If I had cut it all away and trimmed it by now, some of this would be falling out because just by the nature of the topper, as the stitches on top of it, it perforates it, it puts holes in it. So, and then I'm gonna move it over because I have another bunny to sew over there. And this one over here is already done. So just like that. So I'll get in a little bit closer. So here's the edge of my topper here. If I have to tear a little bit of it away, that's fine. But the majority of it is over on this side where I won't have to tear it away until I'm completely done and the flowers have stitched on my vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this back to the machine now. And I'm going to run that decorative stitch. All right, look at how nice those stitches are formed because they have the entire piece of copper there. So now I know I have another bunny. but I also have flowers that have to stitch on this later. So I'm just gonna take this edge and just tape it out of the way for the next bunny. And I have all the topper that I need. That's gonna actually be there when I need it to be there, which is really the flowers that sew later. It's these guys right here. So what we don't want is for them to fall into the leather. We want them to sew on the top. All right. So next bunny up is this kind of peachy pink one. So I am switching to taffy. If you're following along on your direction sheet, we are on step number 27. We are on the very last step on page 6. We are sewing out these placement line for our last bunny. These guys are so cute. All right, so I'm going to change out my thread here. I'll just put that there. Ready? Chubby bunny number 3 coming right up. And we put this down. We've got plenty there. Got plenty there. There we go. All right, one more bunny to trim. Oh, thanks, Irene. Yeah, she did a fun job, huh? Thank you so much. I like them this time. I like them every time. I have a friend that does, that's what she does, is she does nails, and I like stuff that's fun, but I'm not really picky, so I let her just do what she wants. All right, coming with me over to the table. Again, take your time. I always try to take more time when I'm doing the raw edge applique because it really makes a difference if your lines are pretty straight. If I know a satin stitch is going to cover most of it, I don't usually spend this much time trimming. But since this is raw edge, I want to try to give myself enough time to. All right, last chubby bunny. I guess I shouldn't call him chubby, right? Maybe this is not, maybe this is not. How about we call him the last fluffy bunny? I used to have bunnies. I always called them chubby. All right. Back over to the machine. And you know, my topper's out of my way. I don't even have to think about it for right now. And we're gonna do color stop number 15, which is our decorative stitch on our last bunny. So let's see what we're doing next. So we did the bunny detail for step 33, color stop number 17. We're stitching the petals and the dot one detail. So the petal on this first one here, I used the pink lemonade. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to so I'm done with the bunny detail here. I'm just going to take this.
I think you
You said-
still need to do the decorative stitch inside.
That one's not yet, is it? Stitch the bunny detail. Oh, yes, you are correct. I'm sorry. Thank you. I skipped a step,
Well, that's
which is
good.
why I actually had left the stabilizer down, ladies. Good catch. Thank you. I'm thinking, what? This doesn't sound right. That's not a petal. It's bunny. It's bunny detail. Thank you so much. All right, so this is why I have this down. And I'm gonna watch when it finishes this one here, I'm gonna fold this back because I don't want it to stitch on top of it here. I could just tear that off. Let me just tear that piece off. All right, now there's no worries, right? All right. So I need to go back to my linen color. Thank you so much to whoever caught that. I would have caught it once I started stitching going, well, maybe that wasn't right, correct? Here's what's weird. I missed it the first time around too. I'm like, what is it doing? I had already taken my stabilizer off. Just me, I guess. All right, so it's going to do this first bunny over here first. So I'm going to kind of pull this away here. All right, now the flower detail. Actually, first what I'm gonna do is pull this extra stabilizer, this topper off. I think I saw one stitch that needed to be nipped right here. So I want to pull as much of this off as I can. And I'll tell you what one of my favorite little tools is for getting rid of the rest of the wash away stabilizer. I don't really like to, to soak the whole thing or get it, get the whole thing wet. But what I will do is buy the bags of the foam makeup sponges from the dollar store. And then you can just take the sponge, the makeup sponge, get it wet and dab in the area where you need to still remove stabilizer, the wash away, the topper. It also works really well for around the edges of patches to get any, if you're doing like a freestanding lace, actually, for that matter as well. If you're trying to get just the edges around the edges, just the stabilizer gone, those little makeup sponges are great. And they're very inexpensive, so you can use them for a while on a couple of projects. When it starts to get sticky, you can just toss them. All right. So my first flower detail, which is color stop number 17, step number 33, is actually going to be in the pink lemonade. You can use whatever color you want, but I'm going to be using pink lemonade. I'm saving the darker pink, which is the taffy for me. I'm saving that for when I do the Happy Easter part and the center of the last flower, I think. All right. So my petal and dot 2 detail, I'm going to use Buttercup. But you do you. If you like a different color, by all means do it. Step outside the box. Make it do it, whatever color makes you smile. So now I'm going to do my flower centers. And I mean, you have a choice here. You have white. You could always do them in white. I'm just going to go ahead and put my taffy on now. And I'm going to sew through with taffy. So I'll be doing the flower dots and then the letters as well. If you use different colors, you might want to choose a different color. Whatever makes you happy. These are always open to your own personal interpretation of them. All right, so the last step on that second row there, step number 36, is to stitch Happy Easter. I'm going to be doing mine in taffy, so there's no need to change colors. And we have about a 3-minute stitch out here. All righty, look at, we're moving right along now. I'm gonna go ahead and bring you over to the table with me for a moment. Okay. So I need to make my little envelope back for this. So I'm looking at page 7 and I'm looking at step 37. So this is going to go, it doesn't matter which way you put them. It's going to turn into an envelope when you turn it inside out. So whichever one you put down first, there's no right or wrong way, but we're working with our folded edges. So this is a folded edge. This is a folded edge. These are the raw edges. Remember we folded these hamburger style. So we've got wrong sides together. So I'm going to put this one down first. And I am going to use a little bit of tape only because I don't want to spray base this with spray to the front that I've just finished doing beautiful embroidery on. So I'm just going to put a little piece of tape here in the corner. I'm just trying to avoid where I'll have to pick it out. All right. And then right here, I think will be okay because this one is going to go over the top of it. And it needs to overlap a little bit because it's going to, maybe I could go, oh, I can come in closer there. It needs to overlap. You have to have a seam allowance here that you can trim, but it does need to overlap in the center. I'll show you the back of the one I have made here. And you'll see that there's a little bit of an overlap there. See, here's my bottom piece, and then this one comes over the top. You need to, there's about an inch overlap there. So you want to make sure it doesn't have to be a whole inch, but you want to make sure that you have an overlap so that when you turn it, it's going to hide the backside embroidery. All right, so I'm going to put those corners down. I'm going to tape all 4 of those corners down. The corners, those aren't what I'm worried about. This right here is what I'm worried about. I'm worried because as my machine foot comes around, there's a chance that my foot could grab this and pull it away. So I want to make sure that I take care that that's not going to happen. So that is an area that I will have to pick out. I will have to pick stitching out of my tape, but at least it's not all over the whole project, right? All right, I want to make sure that this is flat enough in here that when the foot comes around, how far in is that? All right. That when the foot comes around, it has a very flat spot there that it can't catch underneath. And it just is going to go, since I really never know which way the foot's going to start, I tape both sides down. All right, so these over here, I'm not worried about. I won't have to pick anything. Once my foot starts stitching, if I know that this is the area that the foot is coming this way, traveling this way, then I'll pull the tape off over here because that means when it gets here, it's going to go the other way. It's going to go over the top of it. So there's no need to have that tape there. But since I don't really remember which way it's going to go, I don't know if it's going to go this way first or this way first. I have both bases covered. Oh, if where the foot is right now is any indication, it looks like we're going to get that out of the way right off the get-go. All right, I'm just leaving my pink tape in. It doesn't matter. Nobody's ever going to see the stitching. So there it goes. It's going to go over that troubled spot first, which means that I can stop and pull the tape off over here. There's no need to go over that tape. And there's no need for me to pick stitching out of it. All right, so I just have a very short area right here that I have to pick my stitching out of my tape out of the stitching. All right. So let's, if you're still with me, yay. Let's finish up our little bunny here. All right, so I'm gonna do this while it's still in the hoop. What I am using for tape today and what we use here a lot in the store is medical transport tape. We sell it, but a lot of you, if you have family and friends in the medical profession, have seen it before. It holds the fabric really well, but it also tears away pretty easily. All right. All right, so I'm going to begin by doing my 1/4 inch trim all the way around the edges. So it says to remove the project, remove all the tape, trim all the layers, leaving a 1/4 inch. Here's what I'm not going to do. This comes from somebody that spent 30 years in the garment industry before I started doing embroidery, is I'm going to go straight across the edge here, but I'm not going to cut that little triangle, because if I cut that little triangle, that's an invitation to get a little nipple that sticks out the corner of anything that I want to go square. So I am going to cut straight across, and I'm going to cut right up to, but not through the stitching line. And you'll see how that works out. I think you'll like it. Of course, you always have the option, you do you, I'll do me. It's fine. If you like the way it comes out the way you do it, by all means, go right ahead. I just find that sometimes it doesn't look, it's not square, it doesn't look square, it just looks pointy in the corners. So just leaving it for 1/4 inch.
So they every machine has its own little like,
And I have my iron warming up. I am gonna give it a little press from the back before I turn it.
Oh, you're right.
All right, just gonna give it a little press. It'll also help mush some of that batting in your corner if you give it a little press before you start. All right. I'm going to try to zoom really in close for this for you. All right, you can do this a couple of different ways. If you are proficient with a rotary cutter and a ruler, you can do it with your rotary cutter and ruler. You usually will have, you usually have plenty of space here to do that. But if you're not, you're going to use scissors. So on this first one, what I want to do is I want to come right up to the stitching line, but not cut through it. So I can't be bashful. I'm looking at the side of my ruler just to make sure that I'm at the stitching line, but not going through it. And then I'm just going to cut that off. All right, so now when I'm done here, I'm just like right up to that line. That's what makes it be pointy when you turn it, not the cutting down the sides. The other thing that you can do to eliminate that is get that batting out of that corner. If you want a really nice square corner, is just get in there and just trim the batting. You don't have to trim the other layer stuff, but just trim the batting out of the way. It takes like a couple seconds. Just fold your fabric and stabilizer out of the way and just trim out the batting. All right. Or if you're afraid of doing it with the rotary cutter, it's fine. You can use a pair of very sharp scissors as well. You're going to cut all the way to, but not through that stitching line. And and again, take some of the weight out of that corner with by trimming out your batting just out of the corner. Don't have to trim it all the way down, but just trim it out of that corner. All right. So what we're doing is taking the weight out so that when we go to turn this, we're just turning fabric. So however you're comfortable doing it. Again, I'm looking at the side of my ruler to make sure that the side of my ruler, I can't see any stitch. And just on that diagonal, go ahead and use the line and go like straight out to a point, you know? You want to do a nice right angle or a nice cross cut on that. And then I'm going to get rid of the batting. I'm not even worried about my stabilizer or anything. I'm just going to get rid of the batting that's in there. Just right at the point. Doesn't even have to be straight. And then I'll give it one more press before I turn it. And then the turn part we're going to do together, if you're there, if you're ready. So you can see now when you trim this close, why you don't want to take your point turner and jab the point into the corner, because you'll poke right through. But you'll also notice how much nicer this will lay by just these couple of things that we've done. All right. So I have all my so look at all the bulk that I took out of that corner. This is all bulk that was in that corner. Fabric, batting, that kind of stuff. That's a lot of bulk for a teeny tiny corner. All right. So let me go back to regular size now. And I'm going to go ahead and press down on my corners. All 4 of them. You can use your clapper on it if you want. They'll give you a nice flat press. Pressing flat seats stitches in the fabric. Gives you a better end result. All right, so now I'm going to do the turn. So what I want to do is I want to take my thumb and I'm going to put my thumb right up into that corner. And then I'm going to press with my fingers, I'm going to turn both of those corners into a point and then just press them out. All right, take a look at that corner. I didn't even have to poke at it because I prepared it. All right, so I'm going to put my thumb right up to the corner. And then I'm going to take my other 2 fingers here. My thumb's right back here. I'm going to make that little point. I'm going to fold those 2 edges together. And then I'm just going to push that through. And when I do that, it's almost a square corner when I start. So there's not really a whole lot here that I need to poke. So I'm going to do the other 2 because I just did a little prep work. So thumb goes inside. Fingers are pushing the 2 folds there on either side together and then just push them through. Same here, thumb in the corner, folding them over, pushing them through. All right, so look at, they're already pretty good to begin with, right? So now when I take my point turn, you can either use this, you can use something like this. I am not jabbing in. So I'm going to take my point turner and I can see my seam in here. I'm just going to follow along, pushing towards that corner, but not into the corner. And then I'm going to go around to the other side and do the same thing. And gently just move that fabric into the corner. Because remember, we folded it all to one side. And then I'm just, wiggling. But look at, it doesn't get much pointier than that for 3 pieces of fabric, stabilizer, and batting. And there's no holes. I'm just gently working my fabric to that center, to the corner, not to the center, really, to the corner, I guess would be a better word. And just, kind of working it with my finger. All right. Now I'm going to give my my mug rug a final press. And I'm going to start on those corners. And I am going to press from the back because I don't want to come in contact with my pretty vinyl, because it won't be pretty if my iron comes in contact with it anymore. All right, nice press. Oh my goodness, look at that pointy corner.
Michelle,
Yes.
can we put a little bit of steam tape in the fold and then press it down?
Are you talking about right here?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can when you're done if you want.
okay, I have to go, but
All
I
right.
enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you. We're about done.
Okay, bye-bye.
Just pressing. And there you have it. There's your nice little mug rug. It's got nice pointed corners. There's no pokey outy, pointy things poking out of the corners. And hopefully you didn't get a hole when you went to turn that by poking your point turner into the corner. Ladies, thank you so much for stitching with me today. It's always fun when we get together and stitch. This is such a fun project. I know that some of you will be making multiples for your friends, or maybe for grandkids and stuff. So happy stitching for your Easter mug rug. And thank you for being here today. Thanks.
Hey, Martha,
Thank you.
Martha, will you hold yours up again? I love your different colors.
Yes, did I miss somebody's?
Yeah, Martha's is cute. It's not the same colors. You're on mute. Oh, there you are.
Oh yeah, that's great. I do love that. Those are pretty colors.
Oh,
Well,
cute.
I did my kid.
Yes,
supposed to
Carolyn's as well.
I
So-
failed. I didn't have the kit, so I
Oh,
used.
It's okay. So
Yeah.
there's no hard, fast rule. I say for those of people that have been in classes, other classes that I've done that aren't Kimberbell related, the one thing I hope to instill in you is to step outside the box. It doesn't have to be exactly like the pattern says. That one's beautiful too, Shannon. Yay, everybody's project looks so good. All right, everyone. Have a happy Easter, or at least, I don't know, if we're thinking about Easter yet. I'm just thinking about spring. I'm just thinking, actually, at this point, I'm just thinking about no snow on the ground. So everybody, have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you
You
for
too.
stitching with me.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Caroline, I love your chocolate bunny.
Thank you, Michelle.